Hey everybody, it's Bronco from Apex Vaulting. This week I'm doing a video where I want to address some of the comments and reactions I got from last week's video about full approach. In that video, I talked about how at Apex, we never do full approach. We save it for the meets. We do something that's a sub-maximal approach. Just to get into some numbers again, for example, in last week's video, I talked about one of my vaulters last year who jumped 15.6. He would do fives in practice, he would grip 13, and then when he would go back to a full in a meet, he would grip as high as 14.3. If you do the math, that's 93% of his maximal grip from five lefts. I think a lot of times in the pole vault community, people get, they don't realize how close they are to their full approach numbers from some of these shorter approaches like fives and sixes. I think the danger with kind of pushing the full approach in practice can be that you are overtraining, you can fry the central nervous system, and then you start to create these issues where you overreach. You try to go on pulls and grips that you're really not ready for. You can end up having sketchy jumps. You can end up getting hurt. That being said, just to, I guess, provide a little bit of nuance, because I know some people took offense with my language that I use that absolute, like, never do full approach. Sure, if you do a full approach and you make sure to keep the numbers lower, like grip a little bit lower, go on a little bit smaller pulls, sure, that could work. I would also say if you're a beginner, to be quite honest, like, you're just not possible to do a full approach, because when you're a beginner, you don't have the technical proficiency and probably the physical ability to test those limits of your body. So yes, even if a beginner does a five at a meet and they did a five in practice, there's really no harm there. You're not even close to pushing the limits. And sure, you could have extreme situations where, like, let's say, you're training adults like I do, and, they haven't competed in about 10 months and they're about to have their first meet. They want to do one session from a longer approach. I don't think there's any harm in that. But again, when I'm talking about training purposes and what's the goal and what's optimal, and honestly, what we do here at Apex, I wasn't like just using language to get views, but I think we all understand the reality of social media. Like, if I use wishy-washy language and I wasn't firm about what I believe, which I do believe, and I said, well, maybe try not to do so many full approaches, I don't think people would have understood my message. I think I'm being very clear with the way I'm presenting information. And now, to kind of address some of these comments and concerns that some people had, let's first start with what I really dislike in the pole vault community the most is the appeal to authority. I can't believe every time I post a video, and again, I don't know how to make this any clearer, but I run a pole vaulting club. I'm not the Olympic Training Center in Chula Vista. I'm not the national coach for some European country. I coach a pole vaulting club. So we have middle school athletes, high school athletes, collegiate, and then we have regular adults who have full-time jobs, have children, they're married. This is just their other activity. It's like someone going to a CrossFit gym. And guess what? When CrossFit coaches post their content, not everybody's like, well, did you coach the CrossFit Open champion? That's not the sole proof. And here's my point. I'm gonna give you a perfect example. I think 19.7 is a great jump. That is a very good mark for male vaulters. Even today, if you jump 19.7 at most meets, if Mondo's not there, you'll probably win. And if Mondo's there, you'll get second, third, right? That's a really good mark. 19.7 is exceptional. At one point, it was the American national record, and that was jumped by Scott Huffman. For those of you that don't know, and I'll have a video here of Scott Huffman's 19.7 jump, you'll see him do what people have termed the Huffman Roll, okay? It's not a turn that you would teach anybody to do. I don't think anybody in the vault world thinks this is a technically desirable turn, but that's what Scott Huffman did. I'm gonna put a link below of a video interview, short interview. You could listen to Scott Huffman himself, and he even said, I don't know why I did that. And he said, don't try it. You shouldn't do it. Well, here's a guy that jumps 19.7. If I just go by appeal to authority, I should say, well, it doesn't matter then. I can turn however I want. Just because someone jumps high doesn't mean everything they're doing is right. In fact, a lot of times, let's be honest, if you're an elite athlete, first of all, the most important thing is that you're an elite athlete. You have to have that speed, that explosiveness. And when you're an elite athlete and you're chasing those marks, you're chasing the Olympics, you're trying to go to the top level, you know what? You just got to grind away. I think a lot of those people is just they do whatever a coach tells them and they go. So sometimes you could talk to elites, and a lot of my vaulters and myself, as we've traveled over the years and met some of these people, I mean, you ask them questions, they quite frankly can't explain what they're doing. They don't have a good understanding. And I think we all know that just because someone was a great athlete doesn't mean they're going to be a great coach. And the reason is they don't have a full understanding. They might have the talent, but I don't even know if you could say they mastered it. You want to disagree? Disagree. If you're someone out there that thinks, just because someone jumped high that they know what they're talking about, good luck. Good luck. But I think we need to use discernment, okay? So I'm so sorry. I'm never going to go with the appeal to authority where it's like, well, this is what the elites do, which gets me to my second point. When people say this is what the elites do, it presents the thought that there is some kind of pole vault consensus. Like all the elites do the same exact training. Guys, they're doing the same lifts, the same sprints. They have the same technical vault practice. They're all doing it the same way. That couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, in fact, I remember when I had Sam Kendrick's dad on, and he talked about Sam having to tap someone in during warm-ups at a professional meet. Sam doesn't do that. Clearly, Sam is not doing what the competitors are doing. And they talked about even how a lot of people are always they're over-gripped, over-poled, and that's what's causing some of the problems in their jumps. Listen to the interview, guys. I'm just saying what was discussed on the interview. But obviously there's not a consensus. And here's the thing. We honestly don't know what any of the professionals are doing. It's not like there's some Excel spreadsheets being passed around with their training and their workouts. I mean, look, I personally, I like a lot of the Bubka Petrov stuff. And sure, you could dig into some Russian sports science and get to the idea of how they train off the runway with plyometrics and lifting and sprinting. Sure, you could do that. But I honestly don't know what Bubka's day-to-day training was. I can't tell you if Bubka was doing full approach in practice. But I will tell you, I'm very fortunate. This fall, I have a kid that's jumping, and the dad actually jumped 17 feet in the 80s in Russia, in the Soviet Union. And he was telling me one of the issues they had in training and why they did full approach sometimes at the elite level in Russia is that they just didn't have the pole selection. So unless they were doing straight pole, they only had poles for full approach. So that's what you had to do. And that kind of addresses a comment, which I feel for the comment that I got where the kid was like, well, I go to a small school, we don't have a lot of poles. How would I do this? One, I replied to his comment, I think if you're at a small school, you guys don't have access to poles, definitely you do straight pole drills from short. But ultimately, I'm going to say this, you've got to get your school to either fundraise or something. They got to buy more poles. You need a series of poles. I mean, it would be the equivalent of telling me you want to lift weights, but all you have is 45-pound plates. You're not going to be able to make 90-pound jumps all the time. And if you're a vaulter and you only have one or two poles, what happens when you get better? I mean, the pole's going to get too small. You're going to need a bigger pole, right? Especially if we're talking about a high school kid that's kind of beginner, novice, developmental. So you need the poles. But you could see even some of these ideas of full approach. Yes, if all you have, let's say you're an elite male vaulter, all you have is the 17-foot line, right? You have 17-foot poles. Well, yeah, how are you going to do, 4s and 5s on 17-foot poles? You can't, right? But we're not in 1980s Soviet Union. I would assume if you're an Olympic training center or whatever, like you guys got to figure it out, get some poles. I mean, all these pole vaulting clubs around the country, they have like 100, 200, some more than 300 poles. Like, you're telling me that Olympians can't have access? This is ridiculous. So that shouldn't be holding someone at the elite level back. Again, going back to like the training of the elites, we just don't really know what the elites are doing, and I don't think all of them are doing the same thing. I did have a coach talk to me, and I thought this was interesting, and I think if you think about training and pole vault philosophies from different coaches and gyms, if you made a Venn diagram, he was making the point that he's like, I think a lot of people were shocked how much overlap there is, even on people that vehemently disagree with each other. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all coaching pole vault. There's certain fundamentals. You need to get enough pole speed to get into the pit, and you need to get your body over a higher bar. There's going to be some crossover there, people. Like, there's more similarities than disagreements, as this coach said. I totally agree. And look, I mean, there's room. You disagree with me, disagree. Cool. Do what you want to do. Which kind of comes up to my next point, which is, who am I making my content for? You know, guys, please don't worry. I don't think Mondo is checking out my posts and trying to look into what can be a new wrinkle he can add to his training. And I'm not trying to influence anybody who has it figured out or thinks they do. Like, dude, you like how your training's going? You like how your jumping's going? Great, keep doing it. I always tell people, first and foremost, the people that I post for are the members of my club. Because what I think a lot of coaches and people who run pole vaulting systems take for granted is we overestimate how much our athletes understand what we're trying to teach them. They might nod their head and say yes, but I don't know. So I post a lot of my content to kind of flesh out our system and make it more tangible to all the members so they can understand, oh, that's what he means when he said I didn't finish takeoff. Oh, that's why we're not doing long approach in practice. I want my members to understand what we do here at Apex. Secondly, and I think this is very important, I think there's a lot of people out there that either don't have coaching at all, or they have some very rudimentary coaching, okay? I'm posting for those people who need help. Again, let's go back to last week's video. If you do long approach and you're having success, you're having a blast, dude, I didn't post that video for you. But you know, there's these common issues that keep coming up in the pole vault, and everybody keeps posting about them. Some of these common issues are like run-throughs, getting rejected, dangerous jumps, unpredictable results. If you fall into that category, this is what you're experiencing, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you not run through. I'm trying to help you have safe jumps. I'm trying to help you have some predictability in your training. I mean, I remember one of my guys when he was in college, he's a 14.3 guy, and he had a teammate on his team who was jumping like 16 plus, who was like a stud. And he said they had some like freshman or sophomore boy on the team. And, it was a D3 school. So this kid was jumping like 12.6 or something. And dude, my guy got so pissed because he's like, the 16-footer was talking to the 12.6 guy and was like, oh, dude, you know what? Like, that's just pole vault, right? Like, you just got to keep jumping and eventually you just go to a meet and PR 2 feet. What? How does that happen? It's not magic, guys. Something has to happen. Like, obviously this 16-footer, whatever. Maybe he, hit puberty finally, started getting on bigger poles. He PR 2 feet, becomes a 16-footer. Bro, we're in college now. This freshman, sophomore boy that jumps 12.6, he's not growing another 6 inches. So he can't just hope that he can PR. So Guys, I'm trying to address these common issues in the vault. If you are having them, I hope my content helps. I think I'm giving you some alternative ideas for what might help you jump better. Also, I mean, this is just laughable. I can't believe this. And people always say, oh, we want pole vault to grow, but I had one of my guys tell me that someone DM'd him and is like, dude, that's just pole vault. You're gonna get rejected in practice. Yeah? What? I mean, what was everybody, like I brought up CrossFit already. What were one of the gripes with CrossFit was like, oh, too many people are getting hurt doing CrossFit. Now, sure, I think when you train, it's possible to get injuries, but the gripes that people were having with CrossFit was there was a lot of gyms out there that were pushing the limits too much, and people were ending up with really terrible injuries, like tearing up their shoulders, their knees, right? It's like, no, you want to have a successful CrossFit gym? You have to train people without destroying their bodies. Oh, you want to run a pole vaulting club? You want to grow the sport of pole vault? Guess what? No, you can't have people getting rejected in practice. I mean, I don't know what to tell people. This is ridiculous. So your reply to me saying don't do full approach, as a safety thing, I'm also saying it, right? You don't want to fry your central nervous system. You don't want to overtrain. No, you guys are like, nah, you got to do full approach. And you know what? If you get rejected, that's just how it is. No, I'm sorry. That's not how it is. That's just dumb. That's just dumb. You're going to get someone hurt like that. We have to grow our sport by being smarter. Getting rejected in practice should not happen. Again, will it, like over a 10-year period, will you have someone get rejected? Maybe. Yeah, sure, maybe. But that shouldn't be a common occurrence. That should be rare. And that there should be a reason, an explanation why that happened. Like, oh, you know why? That person got rejected because by accident they gripped up 6 inches. And me as a coach, I didn't notice that athlete gripped up 6 inches by accident, and that's why they got rejected. Okay, like I can see that. One, coach, pay more attention to what the athletes are gripping. Athlete, pay more attention to what you're gripping, right? Both people should learn that process. That can't happen. Yeah, so I don't know. I think I covered everything, guys, in the comments that I saw. Obviously, there's just people that don't like me, and that's fine. You don't have to like me. I don't need anyone to like me. I have plenty of love in my life, guys. Don't worry about it. But yeah, just, I'm done with the appeal to authority. I went through that. There is no pole vault consensus. I think also, going back to what I said about the pole vault consensus, for as many people that will find out that they agree on a lot of topics, I think a lot of people who think they coach the same, if they really went into each other's environments, they would find lots of things to disagree on as well. So I don't think there's that kind of pole vault consensus that we think about. Who am I making content for? I'm making content for people in my gym, and I'm also making content for anyone who needs help out there. If you don't need help, please pass by this video. You don't have to watch. And again, some of these common issues in the pole vault are preventable. You don't have to be having issues with run-throughs. You don't have to have dangerous and sketchy jumps, and your results should not be unpredictable. Just last night, I was talking to some of my adults who I coach, and I said, yeah, when I was a young coach, when someone would PR, it was like a magical day because we didn't know what led to the PR. And when people jumped poorly, we didn't always know why. The longer I coached, the more that we focused on training and percentages and numbers, because, that was another gripe. Someone was upset that I obsess over grip height. It's like, I don't know, we're training athletes, guys. This is science, not art. You have to track numbers. If you don't have measurables, then it becomes unpredictable. But if we start to track all these numbers in training, one, you'll know what physical training you need to do to get fast enough and strong enough for the vault, knowing that you are now ready to jump high. And then if you're tracking your progress from 3s, 4s, 5s, you know you're at a certain percentage point away from your full approach. And then if you start to train feel and awareness for pull speed and swing speed, instead of just staring at an iPad, which I'll do that video maybe next, then you're going to more easily go up pulls and grips instead of just forcing things. All right. Any comments or questions, let me know, guys. Have a good week.